Hi, I'm Mary Wing Soares, and this is Transparency in Government. And today, my guest is our town manager, Kevin Smith. Thank you for joining me.
Nice to be back.
Yeah.
Happy
holiday
holidays.
season.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. And Happy Hanukkah if you happen to celebrate
right.
Hanukkah.
Yep.
I like having. I like having the season. You know
I
what
do
it
too.
is.
I'm not offended either way,
Neither
Mary.
am I.
I'm happy with Merry Christmas.
Right.
I'm not offended when someone says Happy Holidays.
Right. Yep. But anyway, that's not why we're here.
But it was a good digression.
Although we're both in red, you know,
We
what's
are.
that? What's up
Right.
with that? We're dressed for the holiday,
right.
that's for sure. Budget season. That
Yes.
fun thing.
Wow, that's way to sober the
No
conversation
kidding.
up.
I just heard the other night that the budget, you were able to present a budget, the town manager's budget and the default budget are the same.
Right,
And then you are going to be adding a warrant article for the Delta,
right,
for the things that you're
Yep.
not allowed to put in there.
right.
And at the school board, we had heard also from the lawyer who said that because we're not really an SB3 town, we're kind of a pretend one, that if we were to disclose all of those things during the deliberative session, then in fact they would be allowed to be included in the default budget in the future. But for this year, we're stuck with what we're stuck with.
Yeah.
Is that your understanding as well?
Well, I don't know, and because I think there's going to be a lot of interpretations about this from various attorneys, and that isn't to say one attorney's right and one is wrong, and we probably won't know until somebody challenges
Right.
it, and it's not a guarantee that someone will actually challenge it either. Now, the default budget, the previous definition of the default budget was challenged by a person in Ware, New Hampshire. And that's how this whole thing came about. It did go to court, and they found it in favor of the person that was challenging how the town of Ware was doing their default budget. So, you know, I'm not certain the town is going to go by the same rules that the school is doing, but again, that isn't to say the school's doing it the wrong way or the town is, because it's just different interpretations of how we're looking at it.
Yeah, I think you're interpreting it the same way, though. You know that your contracts that are not voted on separately
Yeah,
cannot be part of the
right.
the thing. So, for example, your trash pickup does trash pickup automatically have a 3-year
It
increase?
does, has an escalator every year.
Yeah, and that's something that can't be included in the default budget
It
under
can't,
the new rule.
but my understanding from your attorney's interpretation is that if it was disclosed
That's what I'm saying.
during the conversation, during the budget conversation at deliberative session, that this was a multi-year contract, that you can then include it in subsequent years in your default budget. Which again, that's an interpretation. I think our attorney's being a little bit more conservative in saying, you probably should include it, either include the whole thing on, you know, in the budget or in a warrant article to be voted on by the voters in a separate warrant article, or you have to include each year's escalation as part of your budget going forward. So you can take either way. The third way that Attorney Graham is saying is, well, no, if you disclose it during discussions, that clears the hurdle for you, so you can include it. And maybe it does.
Right.
Again, it would come down to a legal interpretation by a judge if it were ever challenged ultimately. And there are things that we're doing that we think we're doing the right way. Our attorney has said you know, one of the reasons the delta we're offering a supplemental budget as a separate warrant article for the things that aren't included in default. That supplemental originally started out at a little over $500,000 and is now down to maybe $173,000. And one of the reasons for that is because the way we're now calculating our default budget is putting in the appropriations from all of the prior year positions, including benefits. Now, a lot of those positions have since turned over. And so when you put in the new turnover dollars with new employees who maybe aren't on family plans, it's a lot less than what was budgeted last year. So now you have a delta between your proposed budget and your default budget. And so a lot of the money, $300,000 worth of money from the supplemental budget, we've now put into the proposed budget, so it's equal with the default budget. The people at home are turning the station now because they're going, what the heck
is he
are they
talking
talking
about?
about? But that's how kind of ludicrous this whole thing has
Right.
gotten, because the legislature, in my opinion, did a horrible job of telling us how we have to define
Right.
default budget.
So you're saying that if you had a person who had been working for the town for 15, 20 years, their salary is obviously higher. The benefits that they take are probably different. They might have family as opposed to a single.
Yep.
And that person decided to leave for whatever reason and was replaced by somebody who was, 2 years out of the school.
Yep.
A single person only takes that benefit. And so the salary is lower and the benefit cost is lower. So you don't have to change the amount that you're including in your default budget. You're keeping that original
right.
person as opposed to what it is. Now, because you're a year and a half ahead,
Yep.
you really don't even know how that might affect the needs of your budget. I mean, you don't know what you're going to have in excess because you're a
Right.
year and a half ahead.
Right.
It's no different than the school side. The school has a certain number of teachers who retire every
Right.
single year,
Right.
and they hire kids out of high school,
Right.
college, not high school, college. Everybody that works at the school district has a college degree, teacher. So the difference between the salaries and the benefits is much.
Yep.
There's not a huge difference, but there's a difference, and that adds up, and that's what eventually either you return to the town
Right.
in form of the undesignated fund
Yep.
balance, or through paying for specific warrant articles or whatever. So it's not like you are, because it sounds as though you're saying, well, we're just kind of pretending. I mean, not pretending, but we just have all this money, and so we're kind of padding our budget.
No, and it's not.
It's not, though.
Well, but people need to understand too. There's always two budget choices. There's a default and the proposed budget
Right.
choice. And what we're saying is that old salary and benefits, because it was budgeted last year, and the way the default rules are now, we have to budget it the same for the next year. However, in our proposed budget, the new actual salary
is
and
what's
new
there.
benefit amount goes into the proposed budget. So your proposed budget is going to be less than your default budget. And because now there's that delta.
Right.
Now that you take that one position and multiply it by, say, 20, okay, through all departments. Well, now you have a much larger delta between the cost of your default and the cost of your proposed. So what we did to make up that delta is we took a lot of the stuff from the supplemental budget that would have been in default last year. So this isn't like new stuff.
Right.
It's stuff that would have been in default last year. We've now taken that, put it into the proposed budget so that it matches the default budget. So now there's not, and those are mostly salary and benefits too of people who are not in a union, because that was the difference. They said, well, you can put your union salaried and benefit employees in the default budget, but you can't do it with your non-union
Right.
members.
Because the people in the unions, the voters had the opportunity
Right.
to separately vote on that.
Yep.
But the non-union people, the people that you hire or yourself,
Right.
the town council is the one who made the decision with your salary and your increases, and you, I assume, make the recommendations to the town council for the other people
Right.
who are not. So,
Yep.
so they're not, it's not actual town people who are making those decisions.
Right. Yep.
So I understand that, but I guess I'm still not 100% clear how you're able to take things that would not normally be in your default budget under the law
Yep.
and still stick this stuff in there, though.
Well, because they're not, remember, they're not going in the default budget. They're going in a proposed budget.
Right, but you said that originally your proposed budget was about 250 to 300,000 more than your default budget.
No,
And now it's only 100 something.
the supplemental budget.
Oh, okay.
So originally, here's what happened, Mary, is the proposed and default originally were calculated the same, because what we had done in the past in our default budget was we put in the actual salary and benefits of the employees who were there that day when
Right.
we're doing the budget, not who was budgeted for last year.
Okay.
Under the new rules, they're making us calculate the default differently.
Right.
So now we are budgeting in the default budget those people who were there last year who aren't here this year.
Right.
And so now that's what created the delta between the default and the proposed budget. So in the supplemental budget was about, as I said, $500,000. Well, now that delta is $300,000 between your proposed budget and your default budget. So we're not adding to the default, but what we are saying is, okay, we're going to take $300,000 from the supplemental of what would have been in default, but we can't include in default, and we're going to put it in the proposed budget so that it matches what the default budget is.
Okay.
And again, it's under the new rules, we believe we're budgeting it the correct way. Our attorney believes we're budgeting it the correct way. Somebody could challenge it, and a judge could say, no, that wasn't the intent of the law. Unfortunately, if you read the law, it's terribly written.
But that is, again, no different than the school district, because your contracts, aren't your contracts year to year? I mean, aren't you on a fiscal year the same as the school district?
Well, the contracts go fiscal year to fiscal year. They're multi-year contracts.
Right. But you're still, you
But
know,
they end on
you're
a
July
June-
1st to
Yep.
June 30th.
Right.
But the budget is paid for, is voted on in March. So you
Right.
don't know who's going to be available, who's
No,
going to be
you
there.
have no idea.
A year and a half, a year
Except
and almost
yours
a
are
half
more
later.
likely to retire at the end of that fiscal year, whereas our employees retire at any time throughout
Mm-hmm.
the year, because it's more based on New Hampshire retirement and when it's most
when they have their
advantageous.
15 years or whatever it is.
Right. So
Yeah.
so they can retire, they're not necessarily going to retire in December or June.
So looking at your employee base, and your employee base includes police, fire, and all of the workers in the departments
Yep,
in
everybody in town hall. Yep.
right, and highway and everything else.
Yep.
How do you feel as far as the age of your employees is concerned? Do you feel as though you're going to see a good deal of retirements coming up?
I do.
Yeah.
We have a number of long-time employees who don't have a lot of years left in terms of how much longer they're going to continue to work for. A lot of them are already eligible for retirement. Number of department heads, command staff at the fire department and at the police department. So it's something we've been preparing for a number of years now. We stress succession planning. We look to hire employees who we can bring up through the ranks. We'd like to create our own succession planning and continuity of operations through the employees that we have and get them trained while they're there.
Sure.
So that the transition is seamless, especially when a department head leaves. We just had a big retirement, Jerry Dusso,
Yeah.
captain, deputy chief at the police department, had been a police officer for 33 years and was an institution at the police department. Big shoes to fill there.
Right.
But the police department's done a very good job of having this feeder system through their ranks, of sergeant, lieutenants, captains, and then deputy chief and chief. So it's something that was being prepared for. But even, as I said, the command staff have a lot of years in toward New Hampshire retirement. And of course, you don't need as many years if you're on police or fire than if you're, say, a teacher
Right.
or just a civil servant at town hall. So yeah, it's something that is on our radar, and we know we're going to be dealing with a number of them going forward.
And so, well, I'm glad to see that you're planning for it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Are you hanging out for a little while? Because we are so pleased with you as our town manager.
That's very nice. I plan to.
Good.
That's my intention.
Good.
I still love the job.
Yeah, good.
When I was hired, I told them I love Londonderry, and it was something that I really had a passion to want to do, and I still do. I truly love the position, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility,
Sure.
And you have to love it
Right.
in order to deal with it all.
Right.
It makes it worth it. But certainly, if the town council, they've placed their confidence in me, and I'm very grateful for that. And so long as they continue to do so, it would be my intention to stick
Nice.
around for a while.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
So,
And by the way, I got a great staff. I truly have great people to work with at Town Hall in every department. My assistant manager, Lisa, is phenomenal, has brought so much to that role as assistant town manager and personnel director. But my department heads are fantastic. And, just everyone in the clerk's office,
Right.
planning, they're just a great group of people that I get to work with.
Yeah.
And that makes it pleasant too.
Right.
People I think enjoy coming to work at Town Hall. We try to keep it a light atmosphere
Right,
in
it's
there.
a wonderful atmosphere. I hear, all you do during the holiday season, during, Halloween, during the 4th of July, everything that you do
Yeah.
is to try and, bring people to the town hall too, though. I
Right.
think that's important, not just to pay your taxes, but to, to enjoy the atmosphere of it, or to find out information if you need to. And,
Right.
So yeah, very positive things.
Well, and we don't want people to look at when they go to Town Hall like it's like they're going to the DMV. Nobody enjoys going to the
Right.
DMV.
Right.
And we want people that when they go to Town Hall, that it's not just to pay their taxes,
Right.
that they're going to get a friendly customer service experience around the holiday time. The departments are decorated, especially Halloween. We get into it at Halloween.
Yeah, you do.
And we all take our work very seriously, and everyone works very hard, but we try to have fun doing it at
Yeah.
the same time.
Well, I think you need to, and I think that's what allows you to keep employees as long as you
Yeah.
want, as long as they want to stay.
Right.
It's when you want to retire, but
Right.
in the meantime, let's have a good time while we're doing our
Yep,
job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you solved the problem at Market Basket with the with the folding over of the things, and
Yes.
so now
I got a
your
new
thing-
crusade.
Your new crusade is Dunkin' Donuts.
I don't understand, Mary, why they haven't changed the lid on the small cups of coffee. The medium and large lids are fine.
Right, but the small cup of coffee is a paper cup of coffee, and the medium
that's
and
a
the
fir-
small
right.
are
Styrofoam. Right.
So I think that's number one. It's not thick enough to hold that that other top,
Right.
that other lid.
Yep.
But
But it's difficult to get open, number
Right.
one. It spills very easily. I mean, even when it's closed, if I
Right.
have it in my cup holder, it inevitably comes out and,
Right.
and it's not easy to sip off of, and it gets up on your upper lip too. You know
so
what I'm
you know
saying?
what they're encouraging you to do is to buy the medium
Of course
and
they
the,
are.
and the large.
That's
It's all
exactly what they're
marketing,
doing. That's exactly, and that's the thing is, and someone said that to me, Kevin, the solution here is buy a bigger cup
Right,
of coffee. And I said,
right.
no, I'm not going to buy, small does it for me. That's all I
Yeah.
need is a small coffee. So I did, I tweeted it out. I looked for some assistance from the governor again on it. Dunkin' Donuts did respond and said that they were looking into it and would be passing it along to the appropriate people.
Interesting.
Yes. So, but what I did come to find out, much like the Market Basket stickers, is I'm not the only one with this plight
Sure.
of the faulty lids
Right.
on the small cups of coffee.
Yeah, when I saw it today, I think you just tweeted today, right?
Yep.
There had already been 39 comments, and I'm sure quite a few shares. So I'm sure you're not alone.
I don't feel like I am.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why they perfected the other two lids. I don't know why they haven't perfected the small
Right.
coffee lid yet.
But I think the bigger question is why they aren't finding something that's recyclable, though.
I don't know.
You know, for their medium and their large.
I mean, there's clearly a good reason for why they're doing what they're doing. Why the medium and large is a styrofoam, why
Right.
the small is a paper.
Right, and don't you find though when you get a small that it's wicked hot to hold?
Totally.
Yeah.
Very hot.
That's why the styrofoam works, but
I know.
we are in the 21st century. You'd think they'd come up with some kind of design that's recyclable that would allow a hot thing to be in there and not burn your hand.
Absolutely.
You know?
No question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it was just a small cardboard piece to go around the small, that might take the hotness a little bit.
And if they did that with the medium and the large, then you would be able to recycle the whole thing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. I know. So we'll get the lids first, and then we'll move on to recyclable cups for the medium,
and the
large.
large, and the extra
Yes.
large.
Yeah. Is there an extra large?
There
See,
is.
I've never even gone up that high. The most I'll do is a medium.
Yeah.
But what I found, the reason now we're getting into this. I switched from medium to small. I was always a medium drinker, but I
Yeah.
always found I had a lot left over. I just
it was
wasn't
getting
drinking the whole
cold and
thing.
it wasn't happening,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, why am I wasting the money on a medium? I'll just go to a small.
Right. And you do want to stick with Dunks. We're not going with anybody else.
I do like Dunks.
Yeah.
But can I tell you, there's local coffee shops
Right.
that I find the locally brewed stuff to be very good, if
Right.
not better, than Dunks or Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
The two I think of offhand, we've got O'Shea's and Coffee Berries.
Right.
I enjoy
I think
both.
you're going for a different atmosphere when you go to those places,
are,
and
yep.
it's lovely. It's
Yep.
just a lovely atmosphere.
Right, if I'm on the go, I'm getting Dunks.
Right.
But if I've got time to go sit, I'll go to Coffee Berries or O'Shea's.
Yeah.
Because I much would rather enjoy the atmospheres
Sure.
there
Yeah.
than going into a generic Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. But if you had to go to Dunkin' Donuts, you'd like them to have a lid that will stay on
Yes.
and not burn you
Yes.
or
I-
waste your coffee.
There's
too.
got to be a
Yeah.
better solution than
Yeah.
that faulty small plastic lid.
Well, you heard it here. It's tweeted. We're going to
I
see
think we're
what's
gonna.
gonna
I
happen
think we're
here.
gonna see something happen with this.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Because there's enough people that have got this
Yeah.
complaint.
Right.
So
All right, so we started with something light, the
Yep.
holidays. We went into something dark, the budget.
yeah.
And now we're back to something light. So I think we'll wrap it up for this month.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good to me.
When we meet again in January, we'll be talking about the final numbers.
Yep.
We'll have final decisions. We'll have warrant articles that are out, that will be up there and will be spoken about at the deliberative sessions in February. So we'll have a nice something to talk about, and maybe
Sounds
we'll
good.
have some answers about Dunkin' Donuts
That'd be great.
small cups.
That's all I want for Christmas.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks
Mr.
again for
Smith.
having me.
Have a nice evening, and thank you.